before you can start prioritizing the things that are important to you, you have to first of all figure out what are your first things, the first things that you need to consider. And many people are very, very eager to do that, but they're not really sure what their first things are. And it reminds me of my little daughter. She was 4, and we were co-teaching a class for the gifted St. Louis Advocates for Gifted Education, and we were teaching dinosaurs. And we were going to try the craft before we took it up there, dinosaur fossils and making footprints and that. And as the plaster was setting up, I asked my little daughter if she would like to put her initials in the plaster before it's set up. Oh, yes. Oh, she really wanted to do that. And she got the little stick ready to write, and then she looks up at me and she said, "Just what are my initials?" So she was really wanting to do it, but she had no idea what her initials were. And so hopefully today this will help you figure out what your first things are so that you spend your energy doing the things that are most important to you. On activity number 1, this is where you kind of figure out what is important, who's important, and you can do groups of people. Like for instance, under people, you could have your church or Missouri Community College Association, a group that is important that you're involved with. Under things, one of the things that was really important to me when I started school here was not to have a car that left me on the side of the road every other week, or windows that didn't rattle, or a bank account besides the $15 I had in my hip pocket. And so those are things that were important to me at that time. So go ahead and write down a couple of things so you can kind of get on the idea of what we're talking about. And again, if you want a clean one of these, you can just email me and I'll send it to you. You know, you could put your family, or you could break it up, my parents, my husband, my kids, however you want to do that. And you can fill out the rest of that when you're on your own. On activity number 2, how to improve myself. So first of all, we're going to think about your professional life. Now with me, the first thing to improve myself would be my education. I know Christine's working on her education, and that's very important, because in many instances you have the talent, but unless you have that piece of paper to wave under somebody's nose, you're not going to get what you actually deserve. And so that professionalism is very important. I've made the commitment to be a lifelong learner, even if it's not a classroom situation. I'm continually learning new things. And for instance, every 2 weeks I read 3 books, 3 novels. 2 of them will be fiction, and 1 of them will be something that just pricks my interest, but it'll be a nonfiction book. And you'll see in a minute how that ties in to improving yourself. And then about your personal life. You know, is there something in your personal life that you would like to work on? You know, one young lady said she'd like to work on her husband. Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you working on something. Maybe you want to work on your marriage, but this is not, you know, getting your husband trained to open the cereal box. So what do you want to change in your personal life? On activity number 3, what are the things that you want to have? You know, maybe you want to have a swimming pool. Maybe you want to have a good relationship. And the next part of activity 3 is, what do you want to do? Christine, what's one thing you want to do?
Finish my education.
Finish your education. Very good. And how about you? Is there something that you want to be? Have you figured out what you want to be when you grow up? You're still...
I keep changing my mind.
That's okay. That's what a community college is all about. You know, with our low tuition, that plays right into that. So it allows you to kind of dabble around and take different kinds of classes and find out what your passion actually is. So that's great. Now, at the bottom of that first page, I took this from Stephen Covey from one of the workshops that I went to. And the main concept of that one was that positive thoughts led to positive emotions. And then having positive emotions led to positive behavior. And then the positive behavior gives you positive results. So that is very important. I double-sided these to save some trees for you. On activity number 4, I would like for you to list people who have influenced your life. Now this can be a positive influence or a negative influence. For instance, on my list, my mother is one of my people that influenced my life. And it would be, when I grow up and I have kids, I'm never going to say that to my child. Or I'm never going to do this, or I'm not going to miss their graduation or something like that. And other people who have influenced my life, my next door neighbor is a Catholic priest, and he has a very calm, stabilizing effect on me. And so he's been a very solid influence. And so can you tell me one person that's influenced your life, Christine?
I have a teacher that I had in high school that told me once that I can do anything. And it wasn't the fact that he said that, it was the fact that he made it personal.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew that I was uncertain whether I wanted to go to college or not.
Right.
And, you know, to me, I'll never forget that. And so it's really influenced my decision to go to school.
And did you write him a thank you note?
I did.
Good, good, good. My third grade teacher was the one that finally figured out that I had attention deficit disorder. And she made some changes in the classroom arrangement. And that was the first year I ever had a recess. Because she had figured out that I wasn't bothering anybody else. I was just distracted by everything else going on in the class. And so she was a positive influence in my life. All right, let's look at activity number 5. List characteristics that you admire. And it doesn't have to be just thinking of one person. What is a characteristic that you admire? Like, for instance, my Aunt Marie, she is just down home, Southern hospitality. And you think, this lady is so saccharine sweet, she can't be real. But she is. And so I try to bring that type of hospitality to my office and to my work. And that's why we have our potluck and bring people in to see that they do matter, even in my business life, my professional life. And so we try and combine the down-home comfort level with the New York Minute technology. And I think we have a really good blend of that. What's another characteristic that you admire? I haven't picked on you yet. What's a characteristic that you admire in other people?
My sons, their encouragement for me. To
Encouragement, right, right. And so you can pick that as something that you want to do too, and encourage them to be all they can be. We want you to list 5 characteristics there. And those 2 things combined lead to activity number 6, and that's where you create a composite role model. Like one of my supervisors that I worked with previously, he was real calm, he never got angry, and just his way that he managed things was just real level and fair. And I decided when I got to be a manager that I was always going to be very fair. And then I had another role model. You may remember Beth Watts, and when she worked in the HR department, she always dressed very nicely. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't fad conscious, it was just very classy. And I decided that, when I got into a professional job, that's how I wanted to dress. Not anything, just, oh my God, how could she wear that? One of those kind of things, but just a nice classic profile. And so she became part of my role model. And my teacher, my 3rd grade teacher, that I was going to have patience with the students and try and figure out what made them tick. So those are all part of my composite role model. On activity number 7, I would like for you to list things that you value. And we've kind of touched on this before, but this is more characteristics that you value in another person. Like, I value honesty. I value a sense of humor. Somebody that is loyal and that kind of solidarity is very important to me. Also, education is a thing that I holds a great deal of value for me. So go ahead and jot in some things, and then give a short definition of how you want to work that into your life. Can you tell me one thing you put on your list?
Positive, like people being positive.
Oh, that is so true. And we want to set a good example to other people that look up to us, so that we have a positive role model for them. And then at the bottom of that page, this is where that little bit of information I gave you about the nonfiction reading comes in. I got this out of Science News Weekly, and the quote is that 69% of high school graduates never read another nonfiction book. And I just thought, oh my gosh, that is such a sad statistic. And if you want to be in the top 0.5% of the United States, read 4 nonfiction books. And that doesn't mean this month or this year. They're talking about for the rest of your life. So, we can count our textbooks as nonfiction, but also, enlightenment along the way can really help you be more understanding and more tolerant. I just read a book about the Holocaust in Armenia, and I didn't even know there was such a thing, but where they just slaughtered like 150,000 people in like 2 years. And so, that's a continuation of my commitment to be a lifelong learner. It was Children of Armenia was the name of that book. All right, now on activity 8, I want to tell you a little story and to connect the point, the moral of the story, as they say. And there were two woodcutters, and their boss took them out in the woods, and he dropped them off for the day, and he told them that whichever one of them cut down the most trees and made the most logs that day was going to get a really nice bonus. And so he, see you guys later, and took off. And so the first woodcutter, he was just chop, 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 saw, 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 chop, 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 saw, saw, saw. And then about 10 o'clock that morning, the second woodcutter, he stopped working and he just walked off the job. And he was gone for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then he came back and he got busy, chop, 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 saw, saw, saw. And so then at lunchtime, when they took their break, the first woodcutter, he sat down and just, hurriedly ate his lunch. He took like 15 minutes of his hour, and he jumped up and got back to work. But the second woodcutter, he sat and relaxed for a while, and then he went off on a little walk, and when he came back, he got busy, chop, 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 saw, saw, saw. And then in the afternoon, the first woodcutter just continued to chop, chop, saw, saw. He didn't even take the afternoon break. The second woodcutter did, and he walked off the job for about 15 or 20 minutes. And the first woodcutter was getting kind of frustrated because the second woodcutter's pile was getting higher and higher faster than his own. So when their boss came to pick him up that evening, the first woodcutter was just blustering, and he said, well, I don't know what the problem is. I worked harder than he did all day, and he has more logs than I do, and I just don't understand it. And the supervisor looked at him and he said, well, I understand it. When that man walked off of the job, he was sharpening his saw. And so he was actually more efficient when he came back to his work because he took those breaks. And this is something that I really enforce in our office, that when you're working on, when someone in my office is working on a project and they start to get frustrated with it, I tell them, okay, time to take a break. Go outside, walk around the building, go get a bottle of water, whatever you want to do. Just take a little break. And I make sure that they take a lunch break because they are going to be sharper when they take those breaks and come back into work, and I'm actually going to get more product out of them. And so when I say, okay, it's time to sharpen the saw, they know that what I'm talking about, and they'll get up and take a break. So that's part of activity number 8 is think about that little story and how you're going to take care of yourself. And the next line says, you've done something for everyone else, now do something for yourself. So the top half of this little chart down here, I highlighted it so you could see the area that I'm talking about. This is about you, how you are going to help yourself. The first one is physically. I can use myself as an example there. I had a lot of stress this last month. We had 2 deaths in the family, and I got some kind of pneumonia type thing, and I lost 10 pounds in 1 month. And so my physical goal is to get that 10 pounds back on, and so that I feel better and I can be more productive at work and not go to bed at 6:30 or 7 every night. Now, for myself emotionally, and how am I going to deal with that? Well, this is the time when I need to reach out to other people in my family, and I haven't really been good at that. and I have sisters scattered all over. And so I made it as part of my goal that every Friday I'm going to call one of my sisters. And that's going to be part of my emotional growth, is keeping in contact with my good friends and my sisters. And then for myself, mentally, I'm going to continue to read and do recreational reading, and also spend some time in my garden. And that also blends into the spiritual part. I'm not saying that everybody needs to run out and, enroll in a church. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying get in touch with your spiritual self in whatever way is going to be meaningful for you. So did you jot down something under that?
I'm kind of confused.
Okay, ask me.
Like, could it be anything for physical, like walking every day?
Yes, yes. Or you could make a commitment to drink more water. My sheet is going to be very different than your sheet because you know yourself better than I do. So it could be taking a walk for 10 minutes to clear the air. And about that walking, did you know that people that walk less than a quarter of a mile a day compared to people that walk 2 miles a day are 77% more likely to develop senile dementia? So it's very important that you start walking. All right, and what have you got down under mental, Christine?
I have to learn something for me that's enjoyable, not just learning it because some program says I have to.
Right, right, something that is enriching. And that's exactly what we're getting at. All right, now for the activity number 9, it's the bottom half of this chart. And I have given you some hints underneath of some of the different roles that you have. I know that you have 2 boys, and so you are a parent. So under your role, you would put parent. You might be an employee, somebody's friend, a sister or a brother, a daughter or a son, a co-worker, a supervisor. These are just some hints. I'm not saying that you have to use these exact titles, but you want to list the different roles that you are trying to fulfill while you're going to school. So I know Christine as a co-worker and a friend, I hope. And if my role is a co-worker and I'm thinking specifically about Christine, over here is what I want her to be able to say about me. I want her to be able to say that I can always count on Sundae, and that if she asks me for something, that I do it cheerfully, and I hope put a little creative spin on it so that she will enjoy working with me. That she won't say, oh my gosh, I got to work on that committee with Sundae. Oh, I dread that. And so how am I going to make that happen? That's the middle row. This is the role. This is what I want her to say about me. So how am I going to make that happen? When my supervisor asked me if I would help Christine with a project, I said yes. And she said, you don't even know what it is yet. And I told Betty, I don't need to know what it is. If it's for Christine, I'll do it. And so that's how this came about today. Now, as a sister, what do I want my sisters to say? That I reached out to them and that I was protective because I'm the oldest sister. And so how am I making that happen? That kind of blends into something that's helping me emotionally is by calling one of them every Friday. So that's how I'm going to make that happen. It gets a little bit more difficult when you're a parent. Under my role as a parent and as a step parent, my goal is that I want them to know that I am always supportive. I may not agree with what they're doing, but I am supportive, 100% in their corner. And that's kind of hard when your daughter calls you up and tells you she just bought a Harley Davidson. And you want to say, what? But you just smile and say, well, I hope you'll be real safe with that, good recreation, please wear a helmet, those kinds of things. And so the other part of that is you don't say, I told you so. And that's really hard, to bite your tongue. But that way you keep those lines of communication open, because next time they do something harebrained, they're less likely to tell you about it if they know that they're going to hear, I told you so. So it's live and learn on that one. All right, now on activity number 10, this is where we kind of put all of these things together to write your mission statement and think about the best person that I can become. Now, we're all pretty much in agreement that education is going to help you to be a better person, but that's only part of it. Part of it has to come from within you, changes that you're going to make emotionally and socially. And so in this section, you can write where your goal is, even if it's to get an education, you don't know what you're going to do with it yet, but why you're doing it and how you are going to know that you reach that goal. Maybe it's your graduation from Jefferson College. Maybe it's landing a job that is in the field that you would really like to be in. And so how are you going to make that happen? You're going to work very hard and be a diligent student. And so, you can just jot down a few things there and work on this later when you have time to kind of assimilate the things that we've talked about today. Then on the back page, this is my challenge to you. If each of you would commit to be a lifelong learner and accept the challenge to be in that 0.5% of the people that read 4 nonfiction books, that is part of my goal, is to get other people to commit themselves to being a lifelong learner. Education doesn't stop when you get that degree. It can continue every day, every day, every day. Learn one thing for yourself. The next thing is, my challenge is to ask each of you to commit to teach others. Pencil in the names of 3 people with whom you will share this information. Like Christine, you might put Connie down for that. I know you guys are really good friends, so that would be someone that I would think that you would want to share that with. You might want to share this with your family or your parents that you've kind of got your act together and you have a battle plan. The next challenge is to emulate a fine role model. Remember when we were talking about the attributes that you thought were important? What I'd like for you to do is to define which attribute you think would be the most satisfying, gratifying to you, and make a commitment today to become the best person that you can be. In one of my previous seminars, I had a young lady that disclosed that she didn't exactly lie, but she would exaggerate. And whatever it was a little bigger, grander than what had actually occurred. And it had come around a couple of times, and had caused some broken relationships and, people that didn't trust her like she wanted to be trusted. And so she made the commitment that day that she was, from that day forward, going to tell the truth. And I wish that I knew where she was now to see if it really made a difference in her life. But that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Which attribute are you going to put down and make that commitment to start today? And next, I have my mission statement. I didn't write this, but when I read it, it just spoke to my heart. And so I took it as my own, and I have it printed out in my office on my bulletin board right over my computer so I can see it every day. And it says, if I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. And that's by Emily Dickinson. It's actually a little bit more personal also because my sister's name is Robin. So when I read that word, I think of that with a capital R. All right, and one final thought. If I could leave you with one final thought, it would be that it is okay to put your family before your job. Your job serves your family. It's okay to show consideration for yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. You know that if you get the flu, right? By following through with prioritizing how you spend your time, you will actually have more time to attend to the important things. Okay, so first we have to figure out what our first things are, schedule those, and then schedule the secondary things around those. That way you have more time to get the things done that are important to you. So I'd like for you to take a minute and fill out your card, something that you heard today for the first time. Maybe it was the fact about people don't read very much after they leave high school, or just something that made you think. And then on the other side, write down something if you want to ask me a question confidentially. And if you write down a question, then I need your contact information so I can get back to you. Are there any questions? Anything at all?